Discover the incredibly touching moment a billionaire witnessed a maid's hidden sacrifice for a brighter future. Sarah felt the weight of the world on her shoulders as she scrubbed the marble floors of Ethan Sinclair's mansion, each stroke a reminder of her sacrifices. The air was thick with anticipation. The charity gala for veterans was just hours away, and yet here she was, tirelessly working in the shadows of opulence. With every sweep of her rag, her mind raced back to Alex, her 16-year-old son who dreamed of college, a dream that felt more distant with every bill that piled up on their kitchen table. Sarah's heart swelled with pride for her boy, but despair often crept in, clinging to her like the dust she fought against. She threw a glance toward the grand foyer, its gilded accents shimmering in the light. A vision of a better life flashed before her, family dinners filled with laughter, Alex in a cap and gown, her heart healed from years of weariness. Yet, reality was harsh. Exhausted yet fiercely determined, she wiped a bead of sweat from her brow, vowing to keep fighting for her son's future. As she helped set up for Ethan's gala, the dichotomy of their worlds hit her like a ton of bricks. She arranged floral centerpieces and polished silverware, bringing a piece of her grit to the glittering affair. Then, there he was, Ethan Sinclair himself, an imposing figure whose wealth cast a long shadow. As he bumped into her while checking on the preparations, confusion flickered in his eyes. "You again?" he said, seemingly only noticing her dirt-streaked hands as if they were alien to his pristine environment. "Yes, sir. I'm just preparing for the event," Sarah replied, her voice steady. But inside, heartbeat drumming, her mind raced. She felt invisible, dismissed, yet part of her wondered if he could ever glimpse the strength hidden beneath the surface. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the night of the gala descended, the mansion became a kaleidoscope of laughter and glitz. But amidst the chaos, Sarah overheard Ethan speaking to a guest about her, his words dripping with pity as they chimed through the lavish space. "She really struggles, it's sad," he said, unaware of Sarah inching closer, anger bubbling inside her. The gall. It reminded her of every judgment she faced, the countless times she had to fight back against dismissive eyes. Her heart raced. "Excuse me," Sarah interjected, stepping into the light. "I'm not looking for charity, I work hard so my son can go to college." The room fell still, shocked silence punctuating her fierce declaration. In that moment, she stood boldly defiant, proud. Ethan regained his composure, his brow furrowed. "I didn't mean to," he tried to explain, but she wasn't having it. The tension spiraled, each word unraveling the characteristics of their worlds, exposing the privileges he had taken for granted and the burdens she bore. Their confrontation stirred something within Ethan, a longing to understand not only Sarah's struggle but his own failures to look beyond the walls of his wealth. As the night flowed on, the air quivered with the potential for change. Their perspectives intersected, and amidst anger, a chance for growth flickered into existence, a scholarship for Alex. But all at once, a tightening fear couched in Sarah's chest, her pride battling the urge to accept help. Would accepting this support strip her dignity of her hard-won fight? The dialogue faded into a heartbeat, leaving Sarah standing at the crossroads of hope and stubborn pride, eyes fixed on Ethan. The future felt uncertain, her heart wavering as she grappled with the decision that could change everything. One thing was clear, both their fates hung by a delicate thread, leaving a question that lingered heavy in the air. Would pride hold her back, or could she embrace the lifeline offered? Sarah's heart pounded in her chest as she faced Ethan, their eyes locked in a moment that felt like an eternity. Around them, the gala continued, laughter and clinking glasses forming a chaotic backdrop to their standoff. The warmth of camaraderie and celebration seemed so far away from the raw tension that surged between them. She had fought her entire life to carve out a future for Alex, yet here she was, teetering on the edge of accepting help from a man whose world felt as foreign to her as the moon. Just think about it, Ethan said softly, his voice barely rising above the din. This could change everything for him. For you. I don't want your charity, Sarah shot back, fiery determination flickering in her eyes. I want to earn my way. That's all I've ever wanted. Ethan, caught off guard by the intensity of her reaction, hesitated. It's not charity if you deserve it, he countered, lifting his chin slightly, an imperceptible shift in his posture. It's an opportunity, one that you and your son shouldn't be denied. Her head spun as the truth of his words collided violently with her pride. Could she? Could she risk the idea of being seen as dependent, the stigma she had fought so hard to dismantle? I'm the one who needs to support him, not the other way around, she murmured, hardly believing the words escaping her lips. That a flicker of understanding sparked in Ethan's eyes. You've already been through so much. There's nothing weak about accepting a hand up when you need it. His words had weight, like a pebble thrown into a still pond rippling out. The sudden thought of Alex's future tugged at her heart, dismissing her pride like it was nothing but a threadbare garment. She thought about college brochures lining their kitchen table, the hopes and dreams that flared with every time they pinned them to the fridge. What if he gets a full scholarship? Ethan pressed. He can study without the financial burden that's held you both down. Pulling her arms across her chest in an attempt to steady the tumult of emotions coursing through her, she turned her head slightly to the side. I can't just take it, she breathed, staring into the lavish ballroom filled with people celebrating lives and choices that felt irreparably different from hers. Everything she had ever known urged her to run towards pride, yet every fiber of her being yearned for more. Ethan tilted his head, studying her, the masked layers of wealth and expectation peeling back to reveal a man grappling with the disquiet of his own privilege. I've made mistakes, Sarah. I've turned away from the real stories, the struggles of people like you. But it's a chance for me to at least try to make things right. Her heart ached against the hustle of the gala, vulnerability spiraling into the openness of his admission. Could she release her fears and trust that this was truly an act of goodwill? For Alex. Each passing moment felt like an entire life flashing in front of her, crushing hope and trepidation merging in a dance she never asked to be a part of. I'll think about it, she finally said, her voice softened, fragile yet hopeful. The resolve shifted, intertwining the threads of desire and fear into something new. As Ethan offered her a tentative smile, a bridge slowly forming between two worlds, a sudden commotion pulled their attention to the staircase. A guest had stumbled, sending champagne glasses tumbling to the floor, the sound shattering the delicate balance of their moment. With laughter bubbling up around them, the focus shifted, yet everything felt altered, a new understanding dawning between Sarah and Ethan. As the music swelled again, they both felt the undercurrents of potential shiver in the air. What did this connection mean moving forward? Could pride take a back seat to opportunity? With the night still young, Sarah grappled with the looming questions swirling in her mind, the tension of uncharted territory electrifying the air around them. Could she find a way to balance pride and vulnerability? And could Ethan lead her, both of them, into a place neither expected to go? With the future hanging in the balance, Sarah felt the weight of decision close in again as she took a cautious breath, preparing to confront the challenge ahead. Sarah stood on the edge of an invisible precipice, her pulse racing as she processed Ethan's words. The returning sounds of the gala faded into a distant hum, and all she could hear was the thudding of her heart and the quiet rush of air as her thoughts swirled like confetti around her. Could she really lean on someone else? Sarah, Ethan's voice cut through her haze. You've done everything alone for so long. Giving your son a chance at a better future doesn't make you weak. His eyes held hers, steady and unwavering. For a fleeting moment, she considered the life awaiting Alex if she accepted this lifeline: a degree, a career, choices. But the other voice in her head screamed louder. Will they always look at me as someone who needs help? The guest who had fallen sent a ripple of laughter through the crowd, most people glancing away from their half-full glasses to share an inside joke. Sarah tightened her grip on her dress, feeling completely exposed amidst the chaos of joy around them. Sarah. Ethan's gentle tone coaxed her back. I'm not sure, she admitted, the words slipping from her mouth like a secret. I can't shake the feeling that this isn't just about me. It's about Alex, too. What if I mess this up? He stepped closer, lowering his voice, as if inviting only her to listen. What if it's the best thing for him? You're an amazing mother who has been fighting hard. No one is saying you have to rely on me for everything. Just consider this one step. Taking a breath, she searched his face for any hint of insincerity, but found none. Instead, there was an openness in Ethan's expression, a reflection of his own struggles. He understood sacrifice. She could see it etched into his features, every contour leading up to that thought-provoking brow, and that thought sent a flicker of warmth through her. Maybe, just maybe, his help wouldn't strip away her strength but enhance it. Okay, she said slowly, her pulse still racing. I'll think about it, but I still have a lot to figure out on my own. Just then, the band shifted their tune, an upbeat melody crawling through the room. People around them started to sway, lost in the rhythm of the night. Despite the chaos, the tiny bubble of connection between Sarah and Ethan vibrated. May I have this dance? He asked, extending his hand. Her instincts screamed caution, but she found herself smiling despite the weight of uncertainty. For goodness sake, she thought. Just one dance wouldn't ruin everything. Reluctantly, she placed her hand in his. As they made their way to the dance floor, her heart positioned itself against an uncharted territory of newfound vulnerability. As they started to move, Sarah felt the gentle pressure of Ethan's hand guiding her. The sound of laughter faded, and the world shrank down to just the two of them, enveloped in the rhythm of the music and unspoken possibilities. With each step, Sarah began to lose herself in the flow, the tension knotting in her stomach loosening, even if just slightly. I want what's best for you both, Ethan said, his gaze locked on her, and sincerity echoed in every word. I hope you can see that. As he guided her through the spins and sways, she started to wonder if maybe it was time to let herself dream of a life where dependence didn't feel like weakness. Could this feeling, this moment, be a glimpse of the support she had long avoided? But as the song came to a close, a distant shout from the corner of the room caused her to turn her head, curiosity igniting her instincts. Something was happening, and it didn't look good. Stay close, Ethan said, pulling her gently back to him, but her gaze was already fixed elsewhere, her instincts flaring. What on earth was going on? As chaos unfolded, a new wave of uncertainty washed over Sarah. What did she just step into? Would she still have the chance to forge her own path if things began to unravel? With her heart pounding anew, Sarah felt the thrilling weight of the night, her choices, her son, Ethan colliding once more. What awaited them just beyond the shifting shadows of the party? As Sarah's eyes scanned the crowd, she felt a tightness in her chest. Laughter turned to gasps, then shouts, as people began to disperse. A commotion unfolded near the bar, and she could see the silhouette of a man on the floor, a drink spilled next to him, a broken glass glinting under the dim lights. Her heart raced, not just because of the chaos, but because a sense of dread curled its way around her thoughts. Ethan tightened his grip on her waist, guiding her in the opposite direction, but she hesitated. I need to see. I can't just turn away. Sarah, it's not safe, he said, urgency in his voice. But she could feel a different kind of urgency pulling her towards the scene, a need to understand. The crowd had formed a half-circle around the fallen man, their expressions a mix of concern and curiosity. Breathing in deeply, she stepped away from Ethan's embrace, pushing through the throng of onlookers. The music's cheerful notes vanished, replaced by muffled murmurs and worried whispers. As she drew closer, Sarah caught sight of a woman kneeling beside the man, pressing a napkin against his forehead. It was obvious he was hurt, but the panic in his eyes grabbed her heart. The woman's hands shook, not just from the gravity of the situation, but from sheer desperation. Someone call 911. A voice rang out from the crowd, and instantly people scrambled for their phones. Sarah felt a pull to help the woman, to offer support. What can I do? She asked softly, kneeling beside her. The woman looked up, her face a mixture of relief and fear. "Just hold this, please," she implored, handing Sarah a fresh napkin soaked in crimson. Heart pounding, Sarah did as she was asked, feeling the warmth of blood seep through. "Stay calm, we're going to help you," the woman spoke to the man, her voice soothing despite the chaos around them. But Sarah could see the worry etched in her brow, a fear of failing when every second counted. Moments felt like hours, and as sirens wailed in the distance, Ethan appeared at her side, kneeling close. "I'm here," he murmured, putting a hand on her shoulder. The contact grounded her, but the weight of the scene felt heavy, crushing. As paramedics rushed in, the tension began to filter through the crowd, the energy shifting from fear to hope. She watched as the professionals took over, assessing the man's condition with practiced care. The woman who had been at his side stood back, her shoulders drooping as if she had just crossed a finish line, only to realize it wasn't over yet. "You did everything you could," Ethan reassured her softly. Sarah felt his hand tighten on her shoulder as the woman nodded, tears brimming in her eyes. The frantic atmosphere suddenly felt reflective, revealing the raw humanity that lay beneath the glittering facade of the gala. Sarah was shaken, her heart reeling. She had come here thinking about her own struggles, her call for help. Yet here she was, witness to the vulnerability of others, and her thoughts shifted from her worries about dependence. "Does it ever get easier?" the woman next to her whispered, breaking Sarah's thoughts. "I don't know," she admitted honestly, her voice shaky. "But here we are, aren't we? Trying to help." Ethan's gaze met hers, and the depth of understanding between them deepened. Maybe the weight of vulnerability wasn't just hers to bear. Maybe it shaped everyone, creating connections in the most unexpected times. As the paramedics wheeled the man away, whispers in the crowd resumed, but Sarah felt a change within her. The awkwardness of her earlier conversation with Ethan faded, replaced by a small flicker of realization. She wasn't as alone as she thought. And perhaps leaning on someone wouldn't make her less of a mother, but more human. But just as the tension began to dissipate, a sudden commotion from the far end of the hall caught her attention. A figure moved rapidly through the crowd, eyes wild and frantic. Sarah's pulse quickened again. What now? The night was shifting once more, and the ripple of unrest swelled once again around her. What other truth lay hidden just beneath the surface? What would she uncover next? The figure that caught Sarah's attention was a man, his face streaked with worry and fear. He pushed his way through the crowd, knocking over a drink here and causing startled gasps there. Sarah's heart raced. She could feel that something was off, the intensity in the air thick enough to choke on. "Ethan, look," she whispered urgently, motioning toward the chaotic scene. Ethan's eyes followed hers, concern washing over his features. "Stay close to me," he instructed, his voice firm. But Sarah felt an irrepressible pull toward the man, drawn by the urgency in his stride, as if he were carrying some weight that the rest of the world was oblivious to. As the man drew nearer, Sarah could see that he was shaking. Sweat glistened on his brow, and there was a desperation in his eyes that sent a chill down her spine. "We need to find her," he shouted, his voice cracking under the weight of urgency. Who are you looking for?" someone from the crowd asked, stepping closer. "My sister," he exclaimed, holding his head in his hands for a brief moment. "She was here working, and now I can't find her. They're saying something happened." A hush fell over the crowd, curiosity mingling with compassion. Sarah felt that hollow pit in her stomach again, the kind that rings an alarm when something genuinely distressing is unfolding. She exchanged a glance with Ethan, who seemed to share the same concern. "Do you know where she was last?" Sarah found her voice, slowly rising from her spot on the floor. The man looked at her, desperation in his eyes, and registered her empathy. "She was serving drinks in the back. The last I heard there was a scuffle," he stammered, wiping a tear from the corner of his eye. "I've looked everywhere. She could be in trouble." The crowd began to shift, and whispers erupted again. Sarah's heart thudded. Maybe the chaos from a moment ago wasn't the only emergency tonight. Instinctively, she reached out to Ethan, whose hand found hers a moment later, a lifeline in a tumultuous sea. "I'll help you find her," Sarah said, her voice strong and resolute. "Let us check the back together." Without waiting for Ethan's answer, she began moving toward the service area of the venue, the adrenaline fueling her. She looked back at the man. "What is her name?" "Olivia." He replied, and the frantic energy in his voice drove her forward. As they reached the back, Sarah glanced toward the narrow hallways lined with doors marked with staff only. But just before they could move deeper into the unknown, a shrill scream pierced through the air. "I can't breathe. Please help." It was unmistakably Olivia's voice, trembling and soaked in terror. The two rushed toward the sound, aware of the panic settling like fog in their stomachs. "Olivia. Just hold on," her brother shouted, racing ahead. Sarah felt her own breath hitch. What were they about to find? They burst through a door at the end of the hallway, revealing a small utility room. Inside, they saw Olivia, backed against a wall, panic radiating off her as she held a large kitchen knife defensively against someone who appeared menacing. "Put it down," Sarah yelled, her heart pounding wildly in her chest. As the tension crested, Sarah realized she could not turn away now. This was life or death, hope or despair, and she could make a difference. What would it take to defuse this situation? What sacrifices awaited them in the shadowy corners of the night? Olivia's eyes were wide with terror, darting between Sarah and the stranger who loomed too close for comfort. The man, a stocky figure with a rough, unshaven face, appeared poised to strike. He raised his hands, palms out, but a sneer twisted his lips. "You don't want to do this, sweetie. Just hand over the knife, and we can talk." "Get back!" Olivia shouted, her voice cutting through the thick tension. The knife trembled in her grip, but her resolve was clear. "I'll use it if I have to." Sarah's heart raced, and she felt the room spin slightly. The weight of the moment pressed heavily on her shoulders. She could see Olivia was terrified, but there was also a flicker of strength in her eyes. "We're not here to hurt you," Sarah breathed, taking a careful step forward, her hands raised to show she meant no harm. "We just want to help you. You don't know who you're dealing with." The man growled, inching closer. "This isn't some game. Just let it go, and you'll be fine." "No." Olivia's voice cracked. "I'm not going anywhere with you." Behind the stranger, Sarah could see the door ajar, the shadows from the hall flickering, as the ongoing chaos from the party felt like it belonged to another world. There would be no help coming quickly if this went south. "Come on, Olivia," she urged, trying to maintain eye contact. "Just breathe. You're going to get through this. Stay calm, Olivia." "We're right here," Ethan added, his voice steady as he stepped to Sarah's side. He was less than a foot away from the scene unfolding, and panic mixed with anger tightened his brow, but the man wasn't backing down. "You don't know what she's gotten into," he hissed, shifting his weight and causing Olivia to flinch. "Hand over the knife now, and I won't hurt anyone. I swear." "Why would I ever trust you?" Olivia shot back, her voice trembling but defiant. Sarah admired her strength but knew they could not keep the standoff going for long. "I've got an idea. Let me handle this," Sarah whispered to Ethan, who nodded, his expression carved from worry. She took a deep breath, grounding herself in the moment. "Look, no you're scared," Sarah called out, her eyes locked on the attacker, fighting to maintain her composure despite the threat he posed. "But everyone is just trying to get out of this without any harm. That includes you." The man hesitated, eyes narrowing. "And if I can't trust you? What if I'm walking into a trap? Then I'll deal with it." Sarah set her jaw. "Let her go, and I'll talk to you. We can work something out." For a moment, there was silence, a fragile piece hanging in the air like a glass ready to shatter. Olivia's eyes flickered with uncertainty and hope. The man looked between them, and Sarah felt the intensity of his decision weigh heavily. "I'm not leaving without her," he snapped, resolve returning. "Olivia, if you can, just move slowly and stay calm," Sarah instructed, though her heart raced. "We can figure this out, I promise." But chaos broke anew in her mind, her instincts fighting to protect the frightened girl while hoping to dismantle the threat. How far would she go to ensure they both made it out alive? Just then, a loud crash echoed from outside the door, followed by the heavy footsteps of security rushing closer. The man's expression shifted to one of panic. "What is happening? You're tricking me. Trust us, please." "We want to, but it was too late." In a flash, the man hurled himself forward. "Get down!" Ethan yelled, and Sarah felt the world around her shift into chaos. What would happen in their desperate scramble for safety? In that split second, uncertainty gripped her heart. Would they all make it through this alive? Time seemed to elongate as the stranger lunged. Sarah's instincts kicked in, and she pushed Olivia to the side, flinging herself in the direction of the oncoming threat. The sudden movement was like a jolt of electricity, a rush of desperation surging through her veins. She could feel the weight of the moment crashing down, every second amplified by fear and urgency. The knife clattered to the floor, its metallic sound piercing the tension like a gunshot. It bounced once and slid under the table. Sarah's world became a blur of motion, recognizing the safety of the weapon lost in an instant. Her heart thundered as she rolled to shield Olivia, knowing she had just put herself in harm's way. Ethan charged forward, arms reaching out, ready to grapple with the man. The floor shook with each quick step he took. "Get back!" he shouted, his voice filled with both fury and determination, but the stranger was a freight train of aggression. With one forceful shove, he sent Ethan sprawling against the wall. The sound of Ethan hitting the hard surface reverberated through the chaos, a visceral reminder of just how precarious their situation was. "Help!" Olivia screamed, her voice raw with panic. She fought to her feet, desperate to do something, anything. But all she felt was the weight of helplessness pressing down on her. "Olivia, stay back," Sarah urged, trying to hide the fear gripping her heart. She was their protector now, and it felt heavy. She had to keep her calm. "Just trust me. Get away from her." Ethan managed to yell even from a distance. He was pushing against the wall, trying to gain his footing, to return to the fight. "Enough!" The man boomed, his face a mask of rage, and lunged toward Sarah as she steadied herself, preparing for the confrontation. The stolen knife's absence felt like a void, every moment becoming a test of her will. As he neared, Sarah took a deep breath, her mind racing through possibilities. She couldn't let him reach Olivia. She knew it was time to act. With all the strength she could muster, she jumped forward, instinctively grabbing a nearby lamp from a side table, swinging it toward him just as he was about to grasp Olivia's shoulder. The lamp connected with a crash, shattering against the man's face, sending him stumbling back. For a brief fraction of a second, surprise mixed with pain flashed across the attacker's features. It was enough time for Sarah to catch her breath. "Run, Olivia! Get to the door!" she yelled. But Olivia paused, fear keeping her rooted in place. "What about you?" "No time!" Sarah yelled, her heart aching for the girl. "Go! Now!" Olivia's legs finally began to move, and Sarah felt a swell of relief, but it was short-lived. The man was recovering quickly, anger igniting his movements. He turned towards Olivia, but Sarah rushed in front, her body acting as a shield once more. "Stop!" she shouted, her voice cracking. With determination burning in her chest, she glared defiantly at him. "You don't have to do this." "I can't walk away now," he spat, his hands clenched into fists. "You don't know what I'm capable of." As he took a step forward, their confrontation felt like it had reached a tipping point. The loud thuds of footsteps grew nearer. Sarah caught a glimpse of uniforms just outside the door, shadows growing darker against the hallway light, but fear swelled within her. What if he broke through before help arrived? What if she couldn't protect Olivia? A sudden thought flashed in her mind, a momentary chance for distraction. "You think I'm scared of you?" she called, her voice full of defiance. "You think this is the way to prove yourself?" He hesitated, pausing mid-stride, confusion darting through his eyes. Would her words land? Could she shift the narrative long enough for help to arrive? All she could do now was hope. And then, the door burst open, revealing a half-dozen security personnel. They surged into the room, ready for action. Time seemed frozen, the emotions swirling, the stakes climbing higher than ever. Would they all make it out alive, or would darkness reclaim the night? As the first shouts of command rang out, the man's expression turned to fury, and he lunged again. This time, his targets were no longer just Sarah and Olivia. In that moment, everything felt fragile, hanging in the balance. Would rescue bring safety or just more chaos? Ethan pushed himself off the wall, determination etched in his features as the security team flooded the room. Their presence sent ripples of energy through the air, but the stranger was too immersed in rage to yield. "Back off!" one of the security personnel shouted, brandishing a baton. The man curled his lip in disdain, eyes darting between Sarah and Olivia, weighing his options. The tension hung thick, crackling like electricity. "Get behind me!" Sarah barked, forcing Olivia to move. The girl obeyed, though her trembling legs hesitated at first. Every instinct told Sarah that this was a pivotal moment. They had to survive, and this was their only shot. With a scream, the attacker lunged again, but this time, the security team was ready. Two officers converged on him, grasping his arms tightly, bringing him to the ground with a visceral thud. His ferocious snarls filled the space, a mix of chaos and desperation. "Secure him!" yelled the lead officer. Relief surged through Sarah, mixed with a lingering anxiety. Their fight wasn't over yet, and the last thing she wanted was to underestimate this man. Behind her, Ethan steadied his breathing. "Is everyone okay?" His eyes darted from Sarah to Olivia, searching for wounds, for signs of trauma. I'm fine," Olivia whispered, though her face was pale, and her legs quaked beneath her. Sarah nodded, her own heart racing as she watched the officers wrestle with the attacker. It was moments like this that pushed them to the edge, moments where strength, vulnerability, and courage melded into something raw and powerful. "What about you?" Ethan looked back at Sarah, noting her fierce expression but also the worry that flickered in her eyes. I'm okay," she replied. "But we need to make sure he doesn't get up again." Suddenly, the chaotic weight of the situation settled in deeper. This man had come after them, driven by something beyond mere aggression. A history laced with rage, or perhaps a twisted personal vendetta. Were they safe? "Does anyone have cuffs?" one of the officers shouted as they struggled to restrain the man, who thrashed wildly beneath them. "I do," said another officer, scrambling to produce a pair of plastic cuffs. With swift motions, they immobilized the assailant, barking orders at him to calm down. Sarah took a step back, letting the officers handle it. Her breath was still sharp as she fought to process what had just happened. What if they hadn't made it in time? And then there was Olivia, crouched behind Sarah, hidden but also forced to witness a moment nobody her age should have to see. The gravity of that realization broke her heart. "Olivia," she said gently, kneeling to her level. "You did great. You're safe now." "But I didn't do anything." The girl's voice trembled, weighing heavy with guilt. "No," Sarah interrupted, her eyes softening. "You stayed brave. That matters more than you know." Ethan frowned, unable to wrap his mind around the sudden shift of emotions. "We all played our part. Now we need to talk to the police, get things sorted," he said, his voice a grounding presence. The attacker lay still, the energy in the room becoming quieter as they collectively processed the aftermath. Sarah found herself wondering about this man's history, what had driven him to this point. Did he have a family? Was he beyond redemption? As the officers began to pull the man up, he locked eyes with Sarah. "You don't know who you're messing with," he spat, his words laced with hate. Her heart raced. Should she respond? But just as the impulse surged, the officers moved him out of the room, cutting off any further exchange. A heavy silence blanketed the space. "Did you see that?" Ethan breathed, still staring at the doorway. He was different. There's something deeper here. Yeah, Sarah agreed, but gnawing unease settled in. She felt it in her gut, this wasn't just an isolated incident. As they began to move through the aftermath, it dawned on Sarah that this night wasn't just about survival. It was about unraveling secrets hidden behind veils of anger. Who was this man? What had he wanted? They were safe, but the darkness was still looming, and it felt ready to surface again. Did they have it in them to confront whatever lay ahead? Ethan stepped closer to Sarah and Olivia, his mind swirling with questions. The room buzzed with the aftermath of chaos, a stark contrast to the confusion raging inside him. "Do you think he'll come back?" Olivia's voice was small, barely breaking the silence that enveloped them. "It's hard to say," Ethan replied, kneeling beside the girl. "But I promise, we'll figure this out. You're safe with us." Sarah's heart ached at the vulnerability in Olivia's eyes, the fear an unwelcome guest at the party of their lives. She wanted to shield the girl from the world's horrors, but life had a way of crashing through barriers. "Let us get out of here," Sarah said suddenly. "We should find a safe place, somewhere we can talk this out and process everything." Ethan nodded, glancing back at the security team still discussing the incident, the tension among them palpable. As they stepped into the dimly lit hallway, the air felt heavy with unspoken truths. Ethan walked close beside Olivia, shielding her from the world outside. "You did so well, staying calm," he said, his tone soothing. "I was scared," Olivia admitted, her voice wavering. "What if he comes back?" "That's why we're getting help." "We'll make sure you're safe," Ethan assured her, trying to encourage strength. But even as he spoke, a part of him wasn't convinced. Could they really protect her from the darkness lurking beyond the walls? Turning to Sarah, he saw the determination etched on her face, the way her jaw was set tight. "What are you thinking?" he asked softly. "I want to know more about that man," Sarah said, her eyes narrowing in focus. "He came here for a reason and I can't shake the feeling that it's tied to something bigger." Before Ethan could respond, a man stepped into their path. He wore the uniform of the security team, his face flushed but composed. "Sorry to interrupt, but we need to ask you some questions about what happened." "Of course," Sarah replied, her resolve firm. They followed him to a small, sterile room, the kind that looked more like an interrogation chamber than a debriefing space. A sense of foreboding soaked into the air. Two officers sat at a bolster, the fluorescent lights casting a harsh glare. "We want to understand what triggered the attack," one officer began, his demeanor businesslike but within his eyes flickered a hint of empathy. As they recounted the events, Sarah felt a knot of anger rise. She was tired of being the victim, tired of their lives being intruded upon by external forces they couldn't control. After each question, she pushed back, determined to make connections she hoped others wouldn't overlook. "How does someone get to a point where they act like that?" she asked at last, frustration biting at her voice. The officers exchanged glances, weighing their response. "Sometimes it's not just one thing. People can carry burdens, and sometimes those burdens turn dark." "What if his burden isn't just personal?" Ethan interjected. "What if there's more at play? People don't just snap without reason." The room fell silent, a weight settling in. "Do you see anything unusual in your life?" the officer asked, turning to Olivia, a softening in his tone. "Anything that might connect you to him?" Olivia shrank back, shaking her head. No, I don't know him. I was just in the wrong place. But Sarah could see the fear tucked behind her words. They were all in some way connected to that man. What had he been through? While questions hung in the air, uncertainty laced their hearts. Time moved sluggishly, pushing them deeper into contemplation. As they exited the room, Sarah could see the city's skyline through the glass doors. The weight of their encounter lingered: doubt, fear, but also a fragile thread of resolve. They would find answers. They had to. Whatever happens next, Ethan said quietly, barely above a whisper, we're in this together, right? Yes, Sarah affirmed, the bond among them solidifying with a shared determination. But as they stepped back into the world, a feeling of dread clawed up Sarah's spine. They thought they were safe, but the question loomed heavier than ever. What if they were just getting started? What awaited them just beyond that door? Ethan, Sarah, and Olivia emerged from the thrumming chaos of the gala, heads held high but hearts still pounding from fear and uncertainty. The night had morphed from a glamorous charity event into a near-tragic confrontation. They found themselves on the mansion's grand porch, the stars twinkling above as if unaware of the turmoil beneath them. Are you okay? Ethan asked Olivia, concern etched in his voice. With a slight nod, Olivia wiped the last hints of tears from her cheeks. I don't know how I'll sleep after tonight. You will, Sarah said gently, placing a reassuring hand on the girl's shoulder. You're safe now. We're all safe. The city lights sparkled beyond them, each twinkle a reminder of possibilities, hidden truths yet to unfold. Yet Sarah felt an uneasy shift within her. The man who had attacked Olivia was still a shadow in her mind. She couldn't shake the feeling that his story was part of something much bigger. As the night wore on, they huddled together, sharing not just their fears but also their hopes. Each story woven united them in a tapestry of community resilience. They began to laugh about the absurdity of the gala, a stark contrast to what had transpired. This laughter ignited warmth in their hearts, illuminating dark corners once clouded with terror, but beneath the surface, Sarah was restless. I can't just let this go, she said resolutely, her tone sharp with determination. I want to understand why he did that, what pushed him to this brink. Ethan nodded, recognition flickering in his eyes. We could look into it. There must be some way to find out more, to help not just ourselves but others like Olivia in situations like this. A glimmer of resolve flickered in that moment. They wouldn't just be bystanders in this narrative. They would become part of the solution. Olivia, would you want to help too? You've shown so much strength tonight. Olivia's eyes widened, still raw but glistening with bravery. Yeah, if it can help someone else, I want to. Together, they formed an unbreakable bond. They weren't just victims of a violent interruption, they were advocates for change and understanding. Over the next weeks, they started digging. Each discovery unveiled a thread binding the lives of people for whom understanding seemed a luxury. They learned that the attacker had faced a tragic history. Lost jobs, homelessness, and mental health spiraled him into desperation. With this knowledge, Sarah felt a pull in her heart. What if we shared this? She asked Ethan, excitement bubbling within her. What if there's a way to raise awareness about the struggles that lead people to these moments of darkness? Their days became filled with planning and organizing community meetings, bringing light to unearthed stories. They connected with local organizations, finding others who believed in healing through understanding and compassion. From power struggles to the quiet battles faced by single mothers like Sarah, it all came together. Weeks turned into months, and the impact began to ripple outward. Families who had buried their struggles emerged from darkness, a community awakening surrounding them. And at the heart of this movement was the connection they had forged through pain and resilience. One evening, under a dusky sunset, they stood in front of a small crowd gathered at the community center. Emotions ran high as Sarah shared her story. We can't change what happened, but we can change how we see each other, she urged, her voice steady and full of heart. Let us foster understanding, so no one feels pushed to the edge. Together, we can make a difference." At that moment, Ethan's hand found hers as they stood side by side. Olivia watched with shining eyes, the weight of their journey in her heart, but gratitude enveloping her. Several months later, a scholarship program named after Olivia was announced. It would honor the strength she displayed that fateful night, but also the triumph of acknowledging struggles within a community too often hidden. It was their victory, a tribute to resilience. In the aftermath of chaos, Sarah felt the weight of the world lift. Gone was the despair that had once clung to her. Now, she could stand tall, ready to embrace a future filled with hope. And as she looked around at the faces of those who had gathered, she understood that lifting others could be the very act that sent ripples of change through her own life. Together, they had turned pain into power, forging bonds that were unbreakable. Their lives intertwined in a beautiful tapestry, woven with love, understanding, and shared experiences. They had embraced vulnerability, and in doing so, opened doors to healing and connection. This was their moment, a celebration of survival, rooted deep in the kind of courage that transforms not just individuals, but entire communities. Before the night ended, Sarah smiled, a radiant warmth overflowing from her heart. "Thank you all for being part of this journey. Together, we will continue to illuminate the darkness. Let's keep building a world where everyone feels heard and understood." And as the applause echoed around them, Sarah knew this was just the beginning. Join this powerful movement. You need to subscribe now to our channel for more exclusive stories like this. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help spread moments of transformation. Comment with your own stories of resilience and change below to inspire others. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel empowered and understood. Don't wait not even one more second. True fans, let's support each other in this mission.